Yeah. Oh, okay, good. Thank you. Thank you so much. You got to say it so they can, so the camera can go on you though. Take the camera off, your mic off. You're on mute.
Sorry. So here it is, my book. Let me see if I can get it to focus. Saving Your Soul.
Yes. Yes, by Rhona Bennett, Saving Your
Mhm.
Soul. It's a little long. The title is Saving Your Soul, Your Mentor for Navigating the Music and Entertainment Industry at All Stages of Your Career Question. Of all your career, sorry. Then I go into my questions. Um, so yeah, the title of the book, it definitely drew me in as soon as I saw it. I mean, I was like, saving your soul, it got me from the beginning. I was definitely intrigued on trying to find out what this book is going to be about because, um, as we all know, a lot of people in the industry talks about when you make it into the music world, when you make it big or whatever, that you have to sell your soul. I mean, I'm sure we all have heard that term throughout life, and it's getting more popular now. So I did want her to explain that to us. That was one of my questions. Why is it that people always have to say that, oh, well, she made it big, oh, she sold a soul, or he sold his soul, or no, whatever. I want to know, like, why is that term always connected to when you make it, in the industry. um Also, in the forward, in the beginning of her book, in the forward, she wrote about, it was written by Marvin McIntyre. And he stated that this book helps you to remember the business of the show, quote unquote. So I wanted to know, like, with the business of the show, let me add this person's Jasmine coming in. Give me a minute. Hello, Jasmine. How are
Hey,
you?
I'm good. How are
Thank you.
you?
Good. Thank you for joining us. I
No
know people
problem.
probably haven't met you, but you came to one book club. It was been a while ago, but we're glad
Hmm.
to have you come on with us today. So let me finish discussing. We're just going to go ahead. We're still waiting for Rona to come in. So we're just going to go ahead and start because it's getting late in the hour. Um, So yeah, so one of the other parts you discussed in the book was about, like I said, in the forward with Marvin McIntyre. He stated that this books help you remember the business of the show. And I thought that was so important because so many people, when they get into the music industry, you just get in and be like, oh my God, I want to become a star and I'm about to make this money. I'm about to become a rapper, whatever, whatever. And you don't think about the business part. Like that is like so far from your mind. You trying to make it, you trying to come on in and get your records going, whoever gonna be your manager, you just think about all the other part. I mean, the glitz, the glamour, all of that, and for her to break down the way she did the business part of the show, I thought that was just like so unique, for at least new and upcoming artists, to have that. You can actually use her book as a guide, literally, to cross out things, to help you with things that you don't know about. I think that's so important because we have so many young artists coming out now. I mean, we all know some I can't even, it's so many coming out. I can never keep up with it. Like, especially in a rap group, everybody wants to be a singer, everybody want to be a rapper. It is such a large industry, and I commend anybody that wants to go into that. I really do. But you just can't keep up with the people. That's how large of an industry it is, and because they're coming in so young, most of them do. Okay. You don't really come in as a an older person. You kind of come in young because they want you young. That's what sells. Music sales. They want the young people, and hey, that's how they grow in their industry. So I just thought that was really good for her to even set aside and think about people that want to come into the industry. I think that is so good, to even put that in the forefront to talk about the business, having managers, making sure you have contracts, making sure you have all those other things set in place along with your talent and your music industry, your songs and talent, whatever they have, the raps and the song lyrics and all that, that's already one part of it, but it's not the main part of it. The business goes with the singing and all that, the acting and all that. It all goes together. It's all one big part of the business. Okay. So I wanted her to kind of like dive a little more into that part as well. Um, she talked about in her book the Dave Chappelle show and how he was not willing to, quote unquote, once again, we talked about selling his soul. um, she said that Dave Chappelle was not willing to sell his soul, and he walked away from a $50 million contract deal for his TV show, The Chappelle Show. And that's when I wanted to know, like, why are we hearing that term so much about selling your soul? So, so yeah, did you all hear about the Dave Chappelle walking away from $50 million? I don't think I missed that. I don't think I caught that one, but I don't know. Maybe you all knew about that or something. Did you all hear about that?
Yeah, I had heard about it. I had heard about it.
As well.
Okay, yeah, because I mean,
In the height of his success, that's
Right.
that it was just so successful, and he just walked away,
Mhm.
and they didn't expect that to happen.
Right. And there were so many rumors of why he had walked away. So
Right.
remember,
So no one per se, even he doesn't really say anything. He mentions it, but he doesn't say exactly this is what did it, and I walked away, and that was it.
mm, yeah, I hadn't. Like I say, I just started being kind of up on celebrity news and stuff. I don't really keep up with that, but I'm trying to keep up now. I'm trying, but a lot of stuff I still miss. Um, um, she talked about working in the entertainment business can be inconsistent. And when you hear about people wanting to pursue music or acting career, that's already like a big question mark, right? Because normally we just, get a job, work 40 hours, maybe plus a week or every 2 weeks, whatever the case may be. And we just get our normal job and, expect our little check. And, because we want stability, that's why we do it. Okay. We want stability in our lives and we want to make sure we can put food on our table and have a roof over our head. And nobody wants the extra stress that comes with all the maybe I'll be working this week, maybe I won't, so that's why people do it. So when people say they want to become an artist as far as in the music or the acting career industry, we all know that some make it and some don't. So, that's just real life, that's got to keep it real. And so I wanted her at the time while we discussing this to talk about, her stress levels during this time and how was she able to navigate through all of that? Because I wanted to say that before we always thought that actors worked. Like if you actors are you got bank, you making millions, you out here, we saw you on this movie, you got to be, you got to be making that bag. You know what I mean? Like you got to be, you can't tell me you're broke, you can't tell me you ain't got no money. We saw you on the big screen, you got this music playing, we bump into your music, you know what I mean? When we in the car, you definitely a celebrity at this point, but it don't always work that way. We don't think about or people don't talk about when they're not working because we're always thinking they're working all the time. You know, a little bit now you're starting to hear where actresses are complaining and saying they don't get this, they're not having money, and it's coming out now. I want to say more than ever,
It's been
but
out for a long, long time. And the
really,
first thing I
okay,
want to say that I remember, well, two artists, well, in my day that I
yeah,
remember
because I
is
haven't heard any back in the
TLC,
day.
because they got on stage, they had that
Right,
I'm
TLC,
breaking, it
yeah.
was like we're broke.
Mm-hmm.
And then on top of that, the record deal, when I hear all the names or even the names in the book, and she's like, they're so good. And all I can think of is they're crooks. But anyway, TLC, and at the time it was I think Tracy Edmond had took them under, and then you think of all the rest of the Edmonds, and I'm thinking, wow, they just took their money. But they, of course, how she lists all the things that they did, all the groups, whatever. To me, I don't think they look in the long run everybody who's involved in their success or whether or not they hit mainstream or how well they sing. Because I'm like, to me, that sounds like you'll never make any money if I have
Unless you're a
paid.
producer. Unless you're a producer, producers make the money, not the
Oh,
actual artists.
oh
A
wow.
lot of, yeah, it's the producers because they get their money off the top. Everyone else gets their money first before the actual artist. Even the people just mixing the music, people that are even like just the studios, like the executives, they all
Mhm.
get their money before the artists. And I don't think a lot of, especially young artists, think about that when they're signing these contracts. They don't read these contracts. They hear these big millions of dollars money and not realizing by those millions, it start off millions, by the time you get to it, it's hundreds. By the time it actually gets to you, and you're the one on tour, you're the one in front of audiences, you're the one performing multiple nights a week, but it doesn't matter. You will always get your money last.
Yes.
She mentioned that. So she mentioned it in her book. I forget what chapter when she lists everybody, and she says that a lot of the contracts is up for negotiation. So you can depend on, do I want to get paid first? Do I want to get paid royalties and things like that? Because some people bank on royalties. So TLC was the first one, and then Tony Braxton, who went bankrupt, because I'm like, what the heck is going on? That didn't do it. And the other young guy, I can't think of his name. He actually sung what's his name? Well, he plays in The Shy as the boyfriend. I forget his name now, but he also played in, what did he play in? I think Steve Urkel. I can't think of the young man's name, but he was the voice of Lion Kings in the original Lion King. But his mother made him sign up for royalties versus, oh, we gonna pay you this one lump sum. So he says he's still getting paid off of Lion King today. I can't think of the guy name. Let's see. But it depends on who you have in your background, who knows whatever.
Weaver, Jason, it's like Jason Weaver. That's his name.
That's his name. He's still getting paid off of singing that Lion King song. And he says, thankfully, his mother, because at first they was like, oh, we're going to pay you so much money. And the mother was like, no. And of course, the mother knew Disney still, they constantly have movies over and over, re-releasing, re-releasing. So every time any Lion King comes out, he gets paid. But go ahead, Tiny.
Well, ching ching. But I mean,
but that's the start.
so
but
yeah,
too,
it came out in
you know,
95.
we don't know is on the ups and downs. So to me, also because she didn't join, I was also thinking about the social media, because that is also like how you said, I like my steady paycheck, but sometimes you have to get into, let me get into a diversify where I can have this flexibility coming in. Mm-hmm. So the artists, the social media contents, to me, it's scary in itself to me. But you know, when you live like that, or even when she was like, oh, I had to get a job, and she was like, it was scary. And to me, I'm like, what was so scary about that? When you do some other things, and how was that scary to you? But each person is different.
Yeah. Well, I think she said it's scary because she never had one. You know, everybody don't have a job. A lot of these, celebrities, rich people, they never worked.
Well, she had a job. She didn't consider it as a job. She didn't have a regular income.
A regular income job,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like how we do. Yeah. We start off with a regular income job.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And we work our way up or try to start somewhere, work from bottom, So yeah, it can be kind of like, oh my God, is this what my life's gonna be like from now on? You know what I mean? Because they want to have another life, They don't, that's the whole part of having a career. Career and job is two different things. Let's be honest. I mean, that's why they say, oh, you go to your job, you're unhappy. But if you have a career, you'll be happy. That's what they say. You'll be happy because you're doing your passion work. You're doing your passion work.
And it's not long term for a lot of people. If you think about, I can't remember his name, but he played Elvin on The Cosby Show. Here he was, he played Sandra's husband on The Cosby Show. He had this amazing career even after The Cosby Show was done, and then it just stopped. He stopped being booked. He stopped being looked at, and went and got what we call a regular job. I think he was working at like Whole Foods or something like that.
Right.
Because the checks stopped coming in. He wasn't getting I believe he was getting royalties from the Cosby Show, even though the
Yeah, the
reruns
one
are
that was
on
married to Sandra, the
constantly.
one that was married to
Yeah,
Sandra.
even though the
Mhm.
reruns are on constantly, because he didn't have a good contract, he wasn't getting no money off of that, and had to go get a 9 to 5 to continue to provide for his family. And luckily that turned into someone offering him a role on he was just on, I want to,
Greenleaf.
yeah, on
He was the
Greenleaf, and I'm glad to see him working and stuff again, but it just goes to show that, like, people think that if you get seen on TV once, you're going to be booked and busy, and keep it going. No, that could be it.
yeah. But what
That
happened? I remember that story. What happened with him? They ridiculed him
they
for having a
ridiculed
regular
him for
job.
having a regular
So
job.
then they
Yeah.
end up blasting the person who ridiculed him, and then all the other, producers or creators came and started putting him on there. But now you see him more on TV.
Yes, I wanted to go back to what Yolanda was saying with the TLC. It came out that happened in '95 when they went bankrupt or whatever. But it's been a long time. But I mean, like, even back in the day, I don't remember people talking about that, like before TLC. You know what I mean? I feel like it probably did start with TLC. I mean, as
Not
far as
really.
we
I'm
know,
going to
No,
date my age again.
The DeBarge family, they talked
the
about it long
DeBarge.
before TLC.
Oh,
Yes.
okay.
Yeah, they all
Well, see,
did.
I don't know a lot about R&B back
Ice
then. I was
Cube,
into church,
Ice
so.
Cube,
NWA.
Ice Cube made a whole diss song about that white man taking all their money.
Easy E.
Vaseline, still one of the greatest diss tracks in the world to me, where he talks about how they weren't getting paid, which is why he tore up that man's office with that bat, because he wanted his money.
NWA. So it's been going
NWA,
on for
that
a
white
long,
man was
long
taking
time.
their money. That white man was
Jerry.
stealing their money. Jerry was taking their money,
Jerry was
and they
taking.
were not being paid like they were supposed to. Ice Cube was the one that told them, like, "Hey, this man is taking our money." They didn't want to believe him, Dre and Easy E, and that's why Ice Cube branched off on his own so that he could have his money in his pocket, and he put and aired out all that business in that diss track. Oh no, it's been talked about long before TLC.
Right.
Wow. Well, thank you for letting me know, because honey, I don't know too much about R&B and rap back then. Honey, like I say, I was younger. I was
It's
listening
not
to
all
what?
of it. Even what was it was
I
the
just started
sisters, the
listening to
gospel, the Clark
to
sisters, or something like that. They
they
had
went,
beautiful.
they talked about it too.
They all talk about it because they've been taking their money. They actually take advantage of their talent. So it's not just even that. It's the sports agencies. They take advantage of people
Yeah,
talent.
I was gonna say any
Hmm.
business industry, when you don't
Yeah.
have a good business sense or good manager, you
Hmm.
get taken advantage of. Like
They
famous
do.
Amos Cookies, I think he was in the same boat. Even though his
Hmm.
name was everywhere when he sold his company, yeah,
Hmm.
he was sold. Yeah, he sold it for a, like $1 when it was worth much more than that.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of people. We hear of the greats and the success of that, but even with they take advantage of people. People take advantage, which is a shame, but they do.
Wow. I did not know.
Hmm.
I did not know. I did hear about TLC.
Hmm.
I
Tony
think I heard
Braxton, you
about
don't
Tony
remember that?
Braxton.
But
I think
Tony
I heard about
Braxton
Tony
was
Braxton.
her
But
problem
that
was her
I
own
don't know nobody
financial
else out there.
doing.
That was
She
her
was
own doing, you saying?
yeah, she was
Yeah,
buying
but expensive.
Gucci, everything. Her house was laced in gold. It was
Yeah, they
crazy.
said Gucci flatware is what
Yeah.
Oprah said.
Hmm.
Well, it was
Yeah,
like
I heard about that.
the Real Housewives of Potomac. I don't know if you guys ever watched that, but her husband, I forgot who Robin. I forgot what who her husband was, but she talks about how they got taken by a friend, and it just devastated everything that they made, and they had to start from scratch
He was
again.
a basketball player.
He was a basketball player and had done really well, and saying,
Mhm.
friend was trying to help them out, and he just he took all of their money, and unfortunately there was no recourse for them, and they had to start literally from the ground up again. So it's just unfortunate, in my opinion, people don't talk about this more because there's probably so much shame and like, you should have known better. How can you be so dumb? But most people don't. So when you don't talk about stuff, then you really don't help out the next person from not making the same mistakes as you.
Or MC Hammer and his entourage.
Mm.
He went bankrupt.
Yep.
He didn't pay attention to the money. He had the money,
Yep.
but everybody came on. He was paying for everybody everything.
Right.
That was just crazy.
Paying for friends and
Wesley
paying for this
Snipes.
person.
Wesley
Snipes.
Snipes just got was indicted for tax fraud, and he was like, "What are you
Mm-hmm.
talking about? I have a person who's supposed to handle all
I have
of
a
that
person
because he is
supposed to handle.
trusting. I have a,
Yes.
he's trusting of the person he hired to handle things. Guess what that person wasn't doing? Paying taxes for over almost what 15 years. Wesley's like, I had no idea
Right.
because
Yeah.
I'm paying this person. That person was doing everything but that, but spending
Right.
his money and
Yep.
not paying his taxes, and Wesley got in trouble. Nicolas Cage. Nicolas
Yes.
Cage had to file bankruptcy, sell all of his homes except for
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
one in New Orleans and his burial plot in New Orleans, which he refused to give up. That he bought when he got his first check. He bought his plot in New Orleans because that's where he wants to be buried, and a home in New Orleans. Everything else he had to sell because of tax for his taxes not being paid, because he had a person who he thought was handling that. They
Mm-hmm.
were not, because these people do not read contracts. They do not pay
Right.
attention. They hire somebody and then they just going on about their business, which is why everyone's like, why is he making all these stupid movies? Why is he in all of these ridiculous movies? That man trying to recoup any money that he can
He's
because he
in
was
debt.
broke.
Yeah, he's in debt.
He is
My bro.
in debt,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
is why he's making all of these silly movies that he's been in, that he had been in the last, like, what, look, I want to say 6-7 years now, maybe more.
Mm-hmm.
He's been doing some of the wild, he'll be in anything because he is in debt.
Yeah. Or you
And
owe your contract. Because I was
yes.
asking somebody I know who's in the music business. I'm like, oh, something about Beyonce being back out in concert again. I'm like, I can't believe she did back-to-back tours. He's like, she probably owes money. He's like, that's probably part of her Beyonce, because she had her back-to-back concert tours. And I was
I
saying
think for
something.
her it was more like greed because they bought a
house, yeah,
and
you owe money.
don't
He's like,
They
laugh.
did Renaissance, then they did Renaissance. Yeah, they did they did On the Road Run, On the Road Run 2, and then Renaissance, and then Cardboard Carter.
Yeah. He's like, she probably owes money. He's like, no one goes on tour like that unless you owe something. Like you probably owe, you've got debt you got to pay off.
Or it could be I'm just trying to perfect my artist, because some people she might
That's
really like doing it. So I don't know her. She might
that's
like
true. That's
she
true.
might like that crazy fan club, the Beehive.
Yes.
That might just empower her. Her head is so big that she believes, yes, this is what I want to do.
That's true. That's fair.
Well, I got one person. Baby, I don't know what news I'll be watching, but I do not be knowing about all this stuff.
Yeah.
Honey, we gonna have Shakina, you're gonna have to keep me up, girl. Okay, because you know
You
it all.
are back there rolling. They tell it. They broadcast it. It streams on
I
your
don't
phone.
be hearing it. I ain't heard about no Nicolas Cage. I think I might have heard about Wesley Snipes years ago, something about that, but Ice Cube thing, definitely not. We heard about that. That was so long
They had
ago.
a whole movie about that. The NWA
Girl.
movie, and his son played Ice Cube.
Right. I live under a rock a little bit. I live under a rock a little bit. Okay. I just came up out of the rock. Okay. But yeah, I got one person. Let me tell y'all my one person, then y'all can go back to who y'all know. Okay, did y'all hear about in May 2025? This was new that the father on That's So Raven, his name was Rondo Sheridan. The father on That's So Raven, he needed money for his hospital bills. I remember that was going through Facebook, circling throughout the media, related to severe cases of pancreatitis. He was asking for money, like a GoFundMe, or if anybody can donate. So yeah, I remember that one. And it's like, but you're a celebrity, aren't you? So like I say, once again, we think about people being celebrities, and they just you automatically rich in our eyes.
So I
and it don't go like
automatically
that.
think of Disney and how they take advantage of everybody, because when you said him, That's So Raven. Okay, that's a Disney thing. So even she mentioned the Mickey Mouse Club, and I'm pretty sure Disney is still profiting off the Mickey Mouse Club, and they ain't profiting anything when they show the refund. So even when they sell their items, their merchandise, and everybody's like, oh, this one was on Justin. So even if you Google, it'll say In Vogue's Rhona Bennett within the Mickey Mouse Club. And guess what?
That's why, the Mickey Mouse, Disney, they do not like mom managers, because then they can't control what's happening when the person's mom is their manager. They never liked momagers.
Oh, wow.
There was a whole thing about that too. But yeah, no, Disney run them kids until they can't even do anything anymore, and then get upset when they become adults and they're trying to make adult decisions, do adult music,
Yeah.
um, be adultish. That everyone gets
Britney
mad because
Spears. So what
yeah,
reminds me of that, I don't
Lindsay
they
Lohan,
they accepted
all of them.
they accept Disney taking advantage of children, and that was fine. And I'm not saying they didn't pay the children, but in the same scenario, we reverse it. We go R. Kelly, who's hanging around with children. It's a problem. But Disney does it because it's a big pub company. It's okay. So, I'm going to get off my horse now.
As a company, they got the most registered sex offenders
Mm-hmm.
working for that company as a whole in every kind of position.
Mm-hmm.
But don't nobody acknowledge any of that.
Right.
Well, I heard it's a Disney thing on what is it, Hulu or something like that? Like a documentary. Is that right or no? I thought somebody said it was like a Disney thing about what's like the stuff that goes on behind the scenes there and all the little
No,
stuff
I
that
was
went
just
on.
saying that to me, when you look at it, all these children that they use, it's like, of course, they might have contracts, whatever, they might have whatever, but you see the children being utilized and they're making quite a lot of money off of those shows because other kids are watching it, other kids are buying their products or whatever. But it's okay with the industry because Disney is a big company, and it's not that they have companies at night. So even the thing with Jimmy Kimmel, when they got rid of him and they hurried up and got him back because they got backlash from that.
Mm-hmm. Tanisha, I think I know what you're referencing as far as that like documentary. I was about to say like not only does Disney do that, but Nickelodeon, they had a thing too. I can't remember exactly what it like the details of it, but it was like a whole behind the scenes about it and like what was going on. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Maybe that's what it was. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because everybody was talking about it like, oh my God, that is so horrible. That is so messed up about
Hmm.
what happened. It was just like a whole lot of skeletons coming out of the closets,
Yeah.
things that were buried. So yeah, maybe it was a Nickelodeon. I'm sorry. Thank you so much for letting me know about that, Jasmine, because I had it wrong, girl. I called it Disney.
No, it's okay.
One of them school young kids TV show. But yeah, I'm so glad you all brought this up because a lot of people don't know. Remember, this conversation is not about just us. It's so the people when they watch it, they will know too. Because a lot of stuff you all were saying, like I said, I didn't know. So don't be if you know some information, please share it. This is what we're here to talk about. And hey, we talk about whatever on this show. So it is what it is. And I'm so glad that you all brought this up because it shows that this is an ongoing thing in the music industry. And like we do know that, but you all brought up some significant cases where this has been an ongoing problem, and how important it is to make sure that you read these contracts. You have to read them. And also, like we stated before, that you get into the business and you just thinking, I'm ready to make some money. I'm ready to get out here, get in these streets. Let me get my people. You know what I'm saying? I mean, because you be so hyped because most of them dream about this stuff since they was kids, wanting, because they're watching their idols or whomever on television. So you thinking about this, you got the posters up in your room. And, once you make your big break, you're trying to just focus on that. You're not thinking about the back end. I call it the serious side of the industry is what I call it, And to Shakina, when you said something about they didn't want the mommies part of the man as a manager, it's probably because they knew that your mama gonna make sure you got the money where it's supposed to be going and not mess around with it. And they know if you got a mother that's connected to being your manager, they gonna lose out. They're not gonna be able to, get your money or do any kind of shicey stuff to you. So that's probably why they don't want the mothers as managers and stuff. But those that did become like I believe Kiki Palmer, I think her mother was her manager. I think when she was growing up as a kid, being an actress, I think she kind of took care of her. And so I think it's so good when you do have, your mother to be that type of person. Everybody's not, able to have a mother that's financially, educated in that area. So when you do have whether it be family or close friend or somebody that can just help you along the way dealing with the management side, I think that is so good, because it will steer you from all the other stuff that's going on, because everybody is about making money, whether it's the good way or the bad way. And like you say, the managers, they gonna end up winning at the end of the day, because they the ones that pretty much run you. I mean, you got to do what they say. I don't think they do what you say. You have to have a manager. You have to have somebody out there that's promoting your songs, promoting everything. You're just the artist, so you should be focused on that. But in this book, back to what we were saying, she focused on showing people the steps and what you need to have to make sure that you don't go, off track. So, and I mean, she actually lists step by step of the whole management crew, far as from the producers to the people of the lighting people, the being at the studio. You need it's so many people that plays a part. But remember, when you have all these people, they need a cut too. So by the time you get paid, I don't know how much you're gonna have. You know what I'm saying? Because you have so many people behind you as a team, they're your team. So it is what it is. But I think anybody that wants to get into this industry, and like I say, this book is not just for the music industry, it's for us as well. In our careers, making sure that we have, certain things in place, making sure we're managing our money, and, the little bit that we do have, or if it's a lot that you have, just manage it, and she just stated a lot of quotes and a lot of things that was just very good for us to keep going, and positive sayings, and I think it was just really good for her to at least just sit down and write something like this, like a manuscript or guide for people that's looking to get into the music or acting career. She also stated that her mentors advised her to stay focused, and we do know how important it is to stay focused in this kind of industry, because first of all, it moves really quick. Okay. And if you're not on your P's and Q's, I don't even know if you're gonna last. You know what I mean? Because you got so much coming at you this way, that way, this person trying to pull you this way, and you got so many, what they call it, fans and friends, and you just, once you become big, you just have so many that's coming towards you, you know. Like they say, when you down and out, don't nobody know you, but as soon as you make it big, it come everybody calling, long distance cousins, long time friends. Hey girl, remember when we used to kick it back in the day? I mean, your phone is blowing up all of a sudden, so you have to definitely stay focused in this industry, because you got money coming, you got the friends coming, you got people inviting you to every party, every event that's going on. I mean, it's just all of a sudden, it's just your world has opened up. So you definitely have to be focused to make sure that you stay in alignment to whatever it is that you're trying to do, because you can definitely get sidetracked very easily. 1 minute you're up and next minute you're out or you're gone, so yeah, you don't really have a lot of people to watch your back, is what I'm trying to say, in this industry, so you definitely need that along the way. Anybody have anything else to talk about or share right now?
I was just, even though she's talking about the industry, you can use this in your everyday work life. So there's a couple of things that I like for what that she said about what do you value, and you should say whatever. And sometimes people don't be like, what do I really value? And a part of the book said to ask a couple of coworkers, even either those who work for you or you report to ask them, what do you think I value? So that way, when you hear something repeated, you'll know if somebody says, well, I think you value honesty. And that way, what is your moral. So you can know, because some people don't know, where do I need to go or where should I focus? So I like that too. But also what she kept repeating was belief. It's a hell of a drug. And, just having someone to believe in you. So that to me is awesome. Even if you just believe in yourself, but having someone else believe in you, like in one part of it, she was like, I couldn't, she didn't think she was going to go through it. You know how Tony Robbins, they have that walk on fire, all those different tricks. And she said it was one, she thought that it was about money. And she thought the arrow was just going to pierce through her neck. but she said it broke, and because everybody was encouraging her, it was just the belief of the group.
Definitely. I was going to pinpoint that as well when she said belief is a hell of a drug. The time when she said her grandmother saw something in her, and she told her mom, like, you need to look at her and make sure you pay attention because that girl got something. You know what I mean? So I'm sure when she said that, the mother was like, okay, well, let me take this a little more serious because, we got a lot of the kids walking around playing and doing all kind of stuff. You don't really think nothing of it. But the grandmother saw something. Like, I think, this girl is going to be somebody. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's so important. And then she stated, belief is a hell of a drug when she said, Whitney Houston is her idol. She loved Whitney Houston, one of her favorite singers, and how she came up to her job and wanted to meet her. Like, that's amazing. You know what I mean? It's like, she wanted to meet me? What? And she actually came up there, so it believing, like you said, in yourself first is definitely a powerful drug. And if somebody else believe in you, who knows, you know, who knows where the world can take you from there, So you have to have somebody to believe in you. And like you said, definitely believe in yourself. It starts there. And I wanted to talk about how she said the industry shifts a lot. It shifts all the time due to the different developments in technology, and we definitely know the industry changes all the time. It has changed since we were little. We started out with cassette tapes and little radios, a little pink radio. I know I had a little pink radio. Okay. And, so now it went from cassette tapes to CDs, and now CDs are out. They're gone. You can't really find them now. Everything is streaming on phones and all these other stuff, but people get music from Apple Music. It's just everywhere. Like, there's no more CDs. It's like I never thought there would be a day when there's no more CDs. Like, we were buying CDs like crazy in our house. You know what I mean? In the car.
No
So
CDs,
now,
no
yes,
cassette tapes, no
yes,
VHS,
yeah, they're making the
and no more
cars now.
iPods. They got iPads, but they got rid of iPods. There's a lot of things is advanced.
Yes. 1 minute it's here, next minute it's gone. And they making the cars now where they don't even have a slot for the CDs. It's
Sure.
over with, done with. And that's been for a few years now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So all you can do is plug your phone into the little socket in the car, and you better be logged on to some
And
music.
some of the cars don't even have plugins. All they have is drop it down into the blocks and we'll connect. So it's like no input. If you don't have that Wi-Fi or you don't have an updated phone, some people are like, I ain't getting rid of my flip. I'm not getting rid of this. You won't be able to connect to your car.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the industry is definitely moving. That's why I say this type of industry, it moves so fast and you have to keep up. If you don't keep up, then you're going to be left behind. Definitely.
I think
Overnight.
that is indicative of like the industry is also, they don't have as much control as they used to. They had control whether your music got released. They had control over where it was released or how it was released, what songs they put out. With the ability for people to release and promote their own music, a lot of the industry doesn't have as much control now because social media is so big, because people can do a lot of things on their own now. You can release your own music and podcasts and stuff like that on like Spotify, on Apple Music, on places like that, and then use social media to promote that music. You have a lot of artists who, like underground music, who are huge in that area. And so when people hear about, a local artist that was like killed or something like that, everyone else is like, who was that? And I'll be like, that's because you don't listen to underground music, because you don't know about these artists who have been doing their own tours and things like that at, they're smaller size venues, but they have a cult following and they are huge. And you have bigger artists who even sample or use some of their music and people not knowing that it's coming from these local artists, especially in the Chicago area, in the Houston area, Atlanta area. You have these lower name, I want to say lower name, but not as well-known artists who are doing their thing on their own without using the big executives or big contracts from big, companies or something of the sort. So they don't have that hold anymore. And I was thinking about, my fan is right in my face. I was thinking about like even just her constantly talking about the evils and selling your souls within the energy. It makes me think of the Harvey Weinsteins of the industry who had such a hold over everyone's career and made people do the most horrible and despicable things because they wanted their shot. And you had to go past him to get that shot. His name was in everything. I mean, I'm watching movies from like the 90s and 2000 and his name is on everything. You had to get past that man to get anything. And those are the evils that they talk about in the industry. And I couldn't imagine having to do the things that a lot of them did just because they wanted their shot, just because they wanted to make it. That's how bad they wanted to make it. They subjected themselves to horrendous things and then couldn't even talk about it because these people controlled everything, controlled their lives.
Yeah, you'll be surprised on what people go to and how far they will go to get what they want, and if you are gullible or desperate enough, you'll do whatever they ask you to do, because this what you got to do to get where you want to go. You got to pay this price. You want to, you can't go no other way around it. They make it seem as if that's the only way to go. So you believe what they saying and you do whatever whatever you have to do. I think we would be so surprised if we know how some people actually make it, you know, in the industry. They may not talk about it, may keep it hush hush, because I'm sure it's like a secret or a separate type of underground, different type of world. You know what I mean? Like I don't even know. It can probably go really deep, So you'd be surprised. That's why wanted her to talk a little bit about the selling your soul part. Like, you know, because that's what people are saying. Like you have to pretty much do that, in order to make it to the spotlight, you know. I mean, you can be because let's remember that there are different levels to acting and singing and all that. It's different levels, You got the ones that sing a little bit here, maybe on commercials or something, and you got those, and then you got the ones that's gonna make it to the big screen or make it to the big venues, and everybody know your music, I mean, they have independent artists out here. Some of them be like, I don't even want to deal with the industry at all. I'd rather produce my own music. I don't want to deal with none of that, because a lot of people stuff you don't even hear on the radio much, you know. A lot of people just that they thought that's the way they wanted to go and wanted to do that type of work, but then they like, no, let me backtrack a little bit. Let me go this other route. I don't want to be so big, because I mean, a lot of the artists back then, we know them, but a lot of times we don't see them no more. And, they're not making music, or I mean, like what happened? They're not a one hit wonder. They have a lot of CDs, but it's like they kind of just go into doing their own little music and doing their own thing and not so much in the spotlight anymore. So I don't know. It's just a really huge industry where it's different parts to it, it makes it one big whole industry. So it's so many compartments we can talk about, and where it all leads to. So yeah, that's why I wanted Rhona to kind of, break some things down and help us to understand a little bit more about, what it is that's going on and what she do in her everyday life. um, I wanted to bring up when she said her first big break came from Oprah Winfrey. Now, everybody know who she is. If you don't, then I don't know where you been living. But anyway, she said her first big break was from Oprah Winfrey when she did the Brewster's Place, the TV series, though. So there's a movie and a TV series. So I believe she was part of the TV series when that was airing. And I wanted to know, how did that make her feel? And, have her walk us through that journey. And because that is definitely major. Anytime Oprah Winfrey, know you at all personally, that's one thing. And then not only do she know you, but even wants you on her production, because I'm sure she probably had something to do with the Brewster's Place. I'm not sure. I remember the movie when it came out. I remember it, the movie, because I was like, oh, the women's abusive place. You know, it was like one of those black movies where it was all black females. I don't know if it was all black cast. I'm guessing it
She was
was,
the
but
producer. That's when Oprah was
okay.
the producer. So, you know, she produced a lot, but she was more, every time I think of things like that, when she first started producing, she was in every movie. You know, if I produce it, she in there, she got a cast. And it kind of remind me of the music industry when they be like, you want your producer on your videos? That's where kind of like Tyler Perry. I love them, don't get me wrong, but they're always in their products or whatever. Well, she doesn't do it anymore, and Tyler is kind of slowly pulling back from being in all his movies that he's, you know, produced. Mm-hmm. But yeah, she went out for one role and she ended up getting another one. And she was saying how, and also she said something about God's, what did she say? I'm gonna say exactly what she said. But she said that a lot too. Oh, God's delay is not God's, you know, not saying that he's not granting
Not
that.
right. It's God's delay. It's not God. It's not his denial or something like
Yeah.
that.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Right. So with the same thing, she always, when she went out for that role, she went out for the role, but she ended up getting the part casted as the best friend in that role. Mm-hmm. But yeah,
That
it's
was
just, you never know. And it's like I said, a lot of times, a lot of us, we go out for certain jobs and that's not, how can I say, God's like, I should have had that job. But it's more like, oh, this is a blessing for you to go the other way. Because had you got this job, you would have stayed stagnant in this job and not got the blessings that I was meant and intended for you. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that is so important. You know, we be so disappointed when we don't get something or something. We feel like we want something really, really bad and don't get it. You know, that's why whenever I do try to go for a job, I ask God to like, you lead me because I don't know. You know, it's so many damn jobs out here. I don't know which one I'm supposed to be at. You know what I'm saying? So it's just good to pray and ask God, you know, I want to be at a job where you want me to be at. Because, you know, that way you know that that's wherever you are is where you're supposed to be. I'm sure that's a saying too out there. I've seen it on different quotes. You know, you are where you're supposed to be. You know, like right here at this time, this is where you were meant to be on this day many years ago. You know what I mean? So it's just all about all that divine timing. You know, all of that. But yeah, so I definitely try to live my life like that. You know, so because you don't know which way to go. You know, we want to be over here, want to do this, want to do. It's so many things we want to do, but only certain things are going to last, you know, for a very long time, you know. So yeah. Hold on one second. Um, Let me ask another question about, oh, she talked about money management. Now we all know about money management because we just talked about that. So did anybody, I wanted to ask other people we haven't heard from, did anything stick out to you in the book that you wanted to talk about? Okay, so I guess nobody had a good topic they wanted to talk about. Okay, so we're going to talk about the money management part. She talked about having a living will and a trust and about why that is so important. Okay, so yeah, I think that you know, we just had a whole segment about how money works. Okay, so we definitely talked about that. I thought it was good that she even brought that up because she talked about how Prince did not have what, a living will or trust. I heard something about Aretha Franklin didn't have one as well or something. I'm
No,
not
she
No,
real
had
sure.
one. I think they
no,
were
Aretha.
debating.
Yeah, I thought Aretha had one, but they also had to pay her in cash before she even stepped foot on stage. Now that woman,
Mm-hmm.
she managed her money. She wouldn't
Mm-hmm.
even go out unless they had her money in the dough. You didn't have her money, she didn't go out, and they had to pay her in cash. She wasn't
I
taking no
think
checks,
right.
no
I,
IOUs, none of that.
yeah, the issue with
Um,
Aretha Franklin is that she had several wills. And I think it was
yeah,
like the
yeah. She has
that's the issue.
Ray Charles' dad without a will. He didn't
Hmm.
have no will and about 1,000 kids.
Wow.
And they were fighting over his estate.
James Brown too.
James Brown, yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, but she said Prince, his will was in probate for over 3 years because he didn't have a will.
Yeah, so like I said about the money management part, maybe that Prince, when that came across, everybody was so shocked. I was like, what? Prince? Not Prince, And we just automatically think that artists of that caliber, like, oh, they got their stuff in order. You know what I mean? Like,
Even Michael Jackson.
he didn't have one.
I don't know if he didn't have one, but I don't think how can I say, no one knows when their time's going to come, put it like that. And I think most of them felt they were in the height of their career, and their career was not, and their time wasn't going to end,
Okay, so yeah, I was listening to Rhona. She was telling me what's going on with her, so I was letting her know that she can still come on. So she said she'll be on shortly. So yeah. And she was giving her apologies and all that, but I told her we still talking. So if you wanna, you can still pop on. We're not go yet. Yeah. So let me go to my next question that I have one. I was sitting here just texting her real quick. Oh, she talked about life after the pandemic. So we all know that was definitely a big one for artists during that time. So yeah, the world shut down, and we all know that in this industry, they are in front of people the time. So when the world shut down, it's like they were done, like totally done. Like there were no concerts. People couldn't go anywhere. And remember, their whole career is about being in front of an audience. So it was like nothing else they can do. There was no way to go around that because that's how when you see an artist, you go to the arena or wherever you go to actually see them, and they had to improvise. So that's when Zoom came and they started to have DJs and have a little parties on there. People started singing, but it was shortly after the pandemic, but it took a while for, people to start thinking, well, we can start doing this, but it was definitely a big change, for the industry. That's why I feel like my heart really went out to them. It really did, because I was like, OMG. These people, there's no more concerts. There's no performing. We have jobs where it's like, okay, we can kind of see people, but not, everybody just had to figure out something, but for artists, it was really hard because remember, not only do they see 5 or 10 people, there's thousands of people that they see at a particular time, thousands of people. Okay. So how are you supposed to perform? Or mind you, this is how they make their money, So, and some people, some of them do not have another avenue. They don't have another way of living, and she spoke about that. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. And I thought that was so profound because we depend on a job to pay all of our bills, and that's it, that's all, and don't have anything else to do. Okay. So I'm like, oh my God, this is so important, because it's good to have somewhere else to make money or make ends meet. So yeah, with the artists during the pandemic, they were one of the people that, like I say, my heart really went out to them because I was like, OMG. And you can almost see through them on the screen that they were just like devastated, didn't know what to do, you know. And yeah, it was just sad, So whew, I just wanted to know how did she, kind of navigate through that, and how did that change, anything in her career. So yeah. Um, Let me go to.
And also, speaking of the pandemic, some of those artists, like the artists and actors, well, most of us, we had a choice of whether I want to get vaccinated or not. Most of them, their careers depended on it, because a lot of the actors and singers, if it was like, oh, if you didn't get vaccinated, you can't work with us or you can't do this. So that affected them a lot too. Whereas we had a choice, they didn't have a choice if they wanted to sustain their career during that time.
Yeah, yeah, the pandemic just really did a number on like a lot of people, I mean, far as mentally, it just took a turn for a lot of things, to be isolated, and just can't be around people. You didn't realize how important it was, because we had that life for so long. That's all we did, was be around people, go visit people. And now you're telling us we can't. I mean, like, that was like crazy. Remember, well, I mean, I know that this have happened before, because they said back in the day they had the what was the pandemic thing, that it was like an epidemic or something that happened years ago. The which one, what was it? The something that was contagious years ago. Uh I did some research during the pandemic, because I wanted to know when it happened. That's what my mind went to. First, after panic mode, I was like, OMG, you know, what is going on? I got the research found out. Had this ever happened before? I started watching pandemic movies on Netflix, everything I could think of, I mean, I've written down, like, for real, like, just started finding out what to do, what I need to do, what's about to happen. People walking around here with hazmats on. I mean, just what is going on, it was crazy. It was crazy, but that's all I can do is find out, like, has this happened before? And I did find a movie. It said that it did happen. It was, years ago, though, like back in, I can't even think of the pandemic that it was. Do anybody know what I'm talking about? That there was a pandemic here years ago? No? Before COVID? Nobody know about it. What was it? I cannot think of the name of it. The Spanish flu, I think, was that it? The swine flu, Spanish flu, swine flu. It was something like that. I do remember. It was something with an S. I know that for sure.
It
So
was the
yeah.
swine flu.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. I knew I had heard about something happened before. I know it did. So yeah. So yeah, that was crazy. And once I started to research about the swine flu, I said, okay, that makes sense. It kind of gave you something to kind of go along and kind of, I guess, compare what happened back then and to happen because this happened so many years ago that I don't even think people talked about it. And I didn't find out until I did my research. And I was like, okay. And once I started watching the pandemic movies, I said, okay, it kind of started to kind of make sense a little bit. But just to know that we couldn't go anywhere and we were confined to our homes, that in itself was just unbelievable, because that has never happened in our time, even our probably mothers or grandparent times. I don't know. It stated that I think the swine flu was back in, it said 1918, the influenza pandemic, also known as the Spanish flu. Highly deadly influenza pandemic kills tens of millions of people worldwide and had a significant impact on the global population. Oh, the swine flu happened in 2009, declared by the World Health Organization in August 2010. This pandemic also affected the global population, though it did not disproportionately affect the elderly in the same way in the 1918 pandemic did. So 2009, that's still a long time ago from now. You know what I mean? So it's not nothing that people really talked about. So yeah, it's just, it was one of those times, but we got through. I want to say good things happened with it because we started to get on Zoom, and that's how we were able to still communicate. And because I didn't know what we were going to do, I was like, "Oh my God, we got to go outside. We can't go outside. No more book club." My mind went straight there. So yeah, it was just crazy. But like I say, some good things happened, and I'm glad of Zoom because I didn't really know about it. Have anybody had heard of Zoom before the pandemic? I mean,
I
anybody heard of it?
did, because we used to have meetings or whatever at my job or whatever, but we didn't use it as often. So now it became like the way of work. But I used it because I had, when I lived in Detroit, but I don't live there anymore. But I was on like a national convention and we had to do Zoom because the members were coming from all over the states. So we did that. So I I would say I've been doing it for a while, since 2014 when I was doing it. So I don't know how long it's been out, but I know since 2014 at least. And that was when I had that national convention.
Yeah. Anybody else? Have y'all heard of Zoom before the pandemic?
I mean, for different things, for work, sometimes we would use it because we had people that would chime in from like New York and places like that. So we had used Zoom and stuff before the pandemic, but it was only for meetings that involved our team in another state.
Yeah. I definitely hadn't heard of it. Like I said, during the pandemic, I had gotten on it about for like 30 minutes or so. And I guess teachers had already started using it.
Mhm.
And that's when Tabitha was like, "Hey, you want to try Zoom?" I'm like, "Girl, I don't know about Zoom. I just got on like the other day for 30 minutes. I couldn't even hardly work it. Like, what I'm about to push?" I was like, "Well, girl, I'll try, honey. Let me try and see let me see what this thing do, you know." And so she was, like I said, very patient. It was like, just try it, play around with it, get familiar with it, and then see if, we can just do it this way. And it has definitely helped. Because like I said, we have out of towners now, Yolanda, people that's not able to just come on and log on. People are not able to do that across the time. Here she is logging on now. Rhona, hey, hon.
Tanisha.
Well, you finally made it, girl.
Oh my gosh. I'm like,
You kind of sideways, girl. You kind of sideways. But if you could turn your camera, maybe.
okay, because I was trying to keep her charged, but usually it'll hold on to a
Okay,
charge
there you
longer.
go. There you go.
Okay.
There you go.
Let me see if I can see these other faces in here. Hey, beauties.
Yeah, a couple people just left, but
Hey. I'm so sorry. I hope you guys accept my sincere
girl, we just
apology.
happy
I
that
was
you made
like,
it. It is okay.
okay. So, how's everybody doing?
Oh, good, good, good,
Great,
girl.
thanks
Just
for asking.
yeah,
Doing
What you
good.
been talking about?
girl,
Your
your
book.
book.
Okay, top. Should I do? Are you running this thing, Tanisha, or do you want me to run off at the mouth? You tell me what to
Well,
do.
I want you to answer my questions that I got because I have a lot that I want you to discuss. Okay.
Bring them on.
Okay. So my first question was, girl, I hope you're ready. But first of all, I'm going to say, everybody, this is Rhona Bennett. We have been friends. Her and I have been friends for 30 plus years. And first of all, I want you to tell them a little bit about what you do and who you are, just a little bit.
So, I have been in the entertainment business for over 37 years professionally. I started when I was a kid. I got my first paying gig at 12, but I did start singing in my basement in Chicago in my parents' home to the walls, you know. I had a very wild imagination. I could self entertain. And my grandmother, my mom's mom, my maternal grandmother, was the one that told my parents, hey, maybe you want to pay attention to her because my sister and I would go to spend summers with her, and she used to take care of foster children. My cousins would come over, and somehow I would find a way to put together a talent show, and it was just in me to do it. So that kind of started the journey. I was singing in church. I was a part of the Soul Children of Chicago, which is a traveling entertainment choir out of Chi-Town. And I got my first big break from Oprah Winfrey when they turned the Brewster Place series into a television show for ABC. That was my first major gig. And then from there, I became a Mouseketeer with the likes of Justin Timberlake and Christina Aguilera and Britney Spears, and the list goes on. I really felt like I was a part of the best kept secret that's not so secret anymore. And then wow, moved to California. I went to Hollywood where the big dogs play. That's how I used to say it. I wanted to take off and see what I could do in Hollywood. And so I was able to do some guest star spots, on what do I want to say? Situation comedy was a thing, right? So Martin and Living Single and stuff like that. And then I got my first series regular role on a wacky show. It looks like it's become a cult classic. Either people loved it or they hated it. And it was called Homeboys in Outer Space with Flex Alexander and Daryl Bell. And then I, you know, pivoted to the stage because I started in theater. Left a bad taste in my mouth when I was a kid because I was working so hard and going to school. So I was like, I'm not doing theater anymore. But in my early to mid 20s, I got back into that and did a major stage play called Men Cry in the Dark opposite Alan Payne and Richard Roundtree and Monifa. And there was a lot of people in that. And then I think, before that, I got my first record deal with Rodney Jerkins. He had an imprint label on Sony, and I was the first lady of Dark Child, and did some traveling to different parts of the world promoting the record. Never really made it back to America. That's a whole story. I mean, it did, but it didn't do what we thought it was going to do because some other things were happening around that didn't allow it to happen. Um, and then I eventually became a member of the legendary Funky Divas in Vogue, and I have been there since 2003. And of course, things in between that, but that's
Wow. Wow. Yeah. Wow, wow. So she's definitely a busy lady and a fabulous celebrity. Okay. So I wanted to know the title of the book because it drew me in, and I wanted to know what inspired you to write this book and how did it come about with you, coming up with that particular title of Saving Your Soul?
So I gotta shout out my husband because as I was writing, I think after I finished writing, and that's a whole other journey that was very special how this book came to be. But by the time I finished, and he knew my heart and my intention for the book, which is to help people navigate the entertainment industry at any stage of their career. And I am a personal power coach. I founded Personal Power University, which is my global coaching school since 2016. And I have a passion for not only peeling back the layers of the human condition, peeking in and finding out how do we overcome things, how do we create success for ourselves, how do we sustain success for ourselves, but how do you take care of you, the artist in the process? And so that was about the soul. And so it's like saving your soul because, I mean, you have seen, I'm sure, some of the underbelly of our industry being exposed over the last couple years in particular. And a lot of stories are coming out, and a lot of people have been hurt. I even have a friend who wrote a book called Church Hurt, where there's industry hurt, right? And so I think it's incredibly important for people to have someone in their lives who actually has your best interest at heart. I've been doing this for a long time. So it's like, where's the knowledge going anyway? Are you going to sit on it? No, I'm going to give it. I'm going to share it. I'm going to let it fill me up while I help to fill other people up.
Yes, yes. In the forward, I had a question about Marvin Mike McIntyre. This book helps you to remember the business part of the show. So most people don't really think about that serious side. So can you tell the people how the business side plays a significant role in the music industry?
Absolutely. I mean, that's in the name, right? Music business. And I think that as creatives, we're so tapped into the creative part of it, the art part of it, but you forget that there's something you have to manage around that so that it doesn't get taken advantage of, so that you know what's happening. I remember when I was signing my first record deal, and I'm going to shout out my lawyer who I've been connected to for over 20 something years now, Roz Jones. She told me she basically told me she didn't want me to be an ignorant artist. Okay, she's like, you are not going to be that artist that doesn't read their contract. And I'm like, I don't understand this double talk, and it's legalese. She's like, go home, read it, and make notes, come back to me, and everything you don't understand, I will explain it to you. And so that helped me to embrace learning the business of show. Like, it's just an important part of it. It is an integral part of the walk, just as much as the art is the business, if you plan to share it and collaborate with others to disseminate it, to put it out to the world.
Yeah, I was just telling them that, we all, when you first get into the music industry, you're just thinking about, I want to make my music, I want to put my stuff out there, I want to make some money. You're not really thinking about the business side,
Mhm.
so your book is pretty much like a guideline to the things that you need to make sure you have in place when you
Sure.
get into this business, because people don't think about it.
Yeah.
So I think it's so important that you told all about that. That was so important. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Very
I wanted
important.
to say I have the second edition coming out soon, and this is expanding on the Coach Row aspect of it. So this is like I think we did two parts in the last, this is probably a third part, or I'm going to extend the second, where I'm talking about knowing your strengths, how you can work with energy, how we create, how we sustain, how you network, the power of collaboration and teamwork, all the intangibles that are behind what not only makes you successful, but keeps you successful. That I dive even deeper into for the second edition.
Oh, that's going to be good, because
Mhm.
anybody can be successful overnight, but you have to sustain that. Like you stated, you've been in it for what? How many years now?
37.
Yeah, that's hard. That is hard, because we have so many people that we don't even know where they are now. One hit wonders. Have we seen them? Don't see them no more. So you want to be in the business, but you want to have to keep, stay in the business, not just get it and then get out.
Yes, and I'm gonna keep it 100. There was a point where I thought I was leaving the business for good, because when the recession hit in around 2007, 2008, I felt it when it came on immediately, honey. I was I was invested in properties, totally naive, green. Okay, let somebody convince me that I could make this money, and I didn't know the business. Okay, of real estate. And then boom, this thing happens. And it's funny because that's a spiritual thing behind that too, because just months before, I had been watching this movie called The Secret. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of that. It was like this little underground hit called The Secret. And my friend and I made a pact, if you will. And we were like, all right, we're going to watch this every day for 1 month, and we're going to turn our lives around. Like, we're going to add. And it's so funny how God will say, all right, you serious? Okay, all this gotta go. And I was not ready. I was behind the 8 ball. I was like, OMG, I gotta go sell that property. I hope that one doesn't foreclose. Oh, you're gonna let me short sale? Thank you. Like, totally bewildered by the circumstances. But of course, hindsight, one of the best things that could have happened to me, because of how much I learned.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Um, uh, Yolanda, did you want to ask your question? I know you
Hey,
have.
Yolanda. Thank you for your patience.
Hello, I have a lot of questions and I don't know which one it was. I have so I have a couple of them. First, I don't want to just jump all over. So you sung for Tupac. Did you work with Suge Knight?
I was getting ready to be signed to
Okay.
Death Row Records when I was 18 years old.
Okay.
Yeah.
So did you sign with him? Did you make a
No, because
okay?
so at the time, I had another manager,
Mm-hmm.
and the day of signing, according to her, because I was young, right?
Okay.
They read the contract again.
Mm-hmm.
Was not what we thought we were signing, and
Okay.
walked away.
Understood.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were talking. So that was another thing that we were talking about, how you list all the business before you joined us, about how Tynesha was saying how somebody is just recent. I was like, oh no, they've been doing this forever, taking advantage of artists. And we were just going through how they take advantage of artists and different things. But we didn't mention Shook. We mentioned Jerry and Eazy-E and his manager and how they took advantage of Ice Cube in them. But we was just naming all the different artists. But I was just curious.
Okay, good question. I don't know that story as well with Easy. I don't know the intricate details, but yeah.
Yeah. So we were talking about that, but I was saying that a lot of the things in here you mentioned, it can be applicable to your everyday life and your everyday work life. So like one of them, which I have, when I write down, I have to write down homework. So even in your forward, I wrote down the homework of the law of attraction. Okay. So let me get that book, which is a good book. And so even I was like, let me write this down. So every book that we read in our group, I do take down different notes and interests that I have to go. So I had to research it. That's my, how can I say, my rabbit hole chase that I always go down when you.
I'm a rabbit hole girl too.
So I'm like, okay, let me write that down and let me read that. And people like, you do that. Yeah, you make times for what you really want, just like how you was like, I didn't want to get out of bed and exercise, but I made into that book that you said, you and your friend, is a secret. I'm making it. And so now it's just a habit. Even when you don't want to do it, you find yourself already there. You're halfway and you're already at the gym doing it. But you have to, how can I say, in that law of attraction book, which I really like, ideally, you want to speak that into existence.
Yes. Yes. Good for you. And thank you for reading the book.
Okay. You're welcome.
Yeah.
My next question is, you spoke about Dave Chappelle not willing to sell his soul and walking away from the $50 billion deal. I wanted to know why we've been hearing a lot about people selling your soul when they make it big. And I wanted you to talk about that. You don't have to go too deep into it, but just touch on it. Why is that like a thing? Like, oh, you made it big. Oh, she sold her soul, or he had to sell his soul. What is that about?
I think it's nuanced because sometimes people can take it super practical, and sometimes maybe it is. You make a pact with something that is nefarious or low vibrational, and you do it because you let the desire for something outweigh the value of staying in integrity with yourself. And I think that that's probably the most practical way to describe selling your soul is when you are outside of your value system to go after something. If you're allowing something to drive you that is not in alignment with who you are, who you really are, what's for your highest good, and you end up going down a path that now you can't rewind, that's an aspect of selling your soul. And then sometimes people really do get into other practices. You know what I mean? And they want to bring some things in. And so I think it's just important, one, for people to know their true north. What do you really value? Go in there first knowing that so that you can stay in alignment with that. If you value, and there's different kinds of values, right? There's creative values, being values, security values. Some people want money, they chase it. There's this huge culture about getting the bag, right? But I think that can be a dangerous culture if you're not in alignment with your value system while you go after it. There's another book, if you guys want to get it. I read this book probably over a decade ago. It was by Steve Siebold, and it's called 177 Mental Toughness Secrets of the World Class. And he has this depiction in the book where it's like a pyramid, right? And on the bottom of the pyramid, which is the fatter part, it's like 5%, he says, and these numbers probably have changed over the years, but you'll get the idea. 5% at the bottom is poverty. The 10% going up is working class. 70% in the middle is middle class. And then that top tier is there's 10%, they're succeeding, right? But the 10% is ego driven, and that top 5% is spirit driven. I have chosen to consciously be a part of the spirit driven group, right? And I think that in order to continue choosing that, I got to keep working on me. I got to stay in self-development. I got to stay in touch with my values. So one of the first things that I would suggest to anybody, no matter what job sector you're in, is to know what you value. Do you value loyalty? Do you value family? Do you value honesty? Do you value empathy? Do you value compassion? Whatever those things are, put them in plain sight and then move. Make your decisions from your values first. And that may help people avoid a lot of pitfalls.
Yeah, so we just talked about how a lot of things you shared in the book is just not for the music industry, but in our everyday lives. And that's what's
Yes.
good about this book. Is good for anybody and everybody. You stated that at age 10, you made up your mind you wanted to become a singer. Then you later became an actress. And then even now you're a life coach. How are you able to juggle all three careers?
Because it's a passion. Because I'm like this. Okay. And then I'm creating products on the side to support that. So I think that I have learned more now than ever when all those motivational gurus and people who have excelled in different sectors of life say you got to be passionate about it, because there are going to be times where you are tired. There are going to be times that you're not going to get the return that you think your investment in this moment you would have gotten back yet. And so I think your big why has to drive you. Like what's the strong reason why you're doing it? Does it have great purpose backing it? Because that's what can keep you moving. That's what can keep you going. If you don't have those foundational things in place, anybody can give out gas.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And I talked about how, because when you become big or a celebrity, you have so many people coming at you, that you can definitely go another path real
Mm,
quick. So you have to have a foundation, like you stated. You have to know, once again, like you stated, your values. You have to know why you got in this business, why you want to stay in this business, because
mhm.
so many temptations can come knocking at your door. And if
Sure.
you're weak enough, you can fall to prey. So
Absolutely. And there's one other thing I want to add. And this is something I added recently, which is up leveled my productivity like exponentially. And this I learned from my mentor currently. Her name is Lisa Nichols. She's a world renowned author, yeah, and speaker. And Lisa, we were doing I want to say it was like a check in call. What was it? Like a accountability call, I think. And she gave us the breakdown for this legendary schedule, and it was like a task owns every hour of the day. And so I was like, And so for from the time I wake up to the time I go to bed, even if I give a task 2 hours, I also schedule in breaks. You know what I mean? I schedule, because I used to work so much that I might be in the bed, go to the desk. I'm still in my pajamas by like 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I was like, bro, you got to get up, honey. So I even schedule my, putting myself together. I call it my self-love festival. Everything on my calendar is spoken in a way that, or written in a way that is like an affirmation or an incantation, something that I'm embodying. I put an ing on the end of it. When I wake up in the morning, instead of saying meditate, pray, gratitude, make your bed, I say saluting God. And then I move to the next thing. If I'm doing my workout, it's like staying fly and feeling good, right? If I'm eating, fueling my temple and something, something, something. So I put together this legendary schedule. I love the name of it. It's like you're stepping into your own legend. And that's another way that I have been able to manage my time even more effectively and efficiently.
all right, all right. Yolanda, did you have anything that you another question? I know you have a lot too, so we're gonna get a good.
We're going to make it happen. What you got,
You
Yolanda?
might need some water, Rona.
I got a lot.
Survive.
I got a whole thing. Because I'm trying to remember, did I cover this? Did I not cover that? So let me see here. So we also mentioned, I don't know if Tanisha mentioned, so I'm confused whether you joined in when before, but I also mentioned that you said belief is a hell of a drug.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
I was mentioning that, and I said, how you were talking about your empowerment moments when the group came and supported you. And sometimes we just need that little support. We don't know that support is really pushing us forward. And that
Yeah.
belief even though it seems like, oh, it's nothing, but that little voice in the back of your head believing in you is pushing you forward. And even though it seems like a small inevitable, but it's a mighty force. It's kind of like that little pebble in your shoe. You don't know what it is, but you feel it and you keep going. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Speak.
And then also, I have one more thing. Let me see here. Oh, I did mention when, because, you know, a lot of times, even how I was referring, because a lot of things, even though it's meant for the industry, sometimes in our careers, we set ourselves or stay focused on, we want this one particular thing, and that one particular thing isn't for us. It's like an avenue where we really need to go. It moves us to another direction. It's like sometimes how you stated, you like God delay is not God's desire. So
God
sometimes
denial.
we is not God's desire. So sometimes we think, oh, he doesn't want me to have that or whatever.
No, it's denial, not desire. That's what she was saying.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, it's okay.
Okay. I'm sorry. But anyway, because sometimes people are like, why are you not giving this? And sometimes we shouldn't be where we should be. So like sometimes I work at the Postal Service, but you know, true story here, you know, when I transferred to another job, every year they wanted to give me some type of discipline. Oh, you didn't do this, you didn't do that, you sneezed too much, whatever. Okay, whatever.
Oh,
but at the same time, when I got here, I was like, oh, I'm going to transfer over to another federal agency. But and I was like, and I always tell people that the people, you think you're hurting me, but you actually help me. And I said, and what happened was I couldn't go to that other federal agency. And Lord behold, Tynesha's president is shutting down different federal agencies. So it was a blessing and a curse at the same time. You know, like, okay, you thought you hurt me, but that was actually a blessing to stop me from being foolishness and moving on and losing my source of income, you know? So that's what that kind of relayed to me, just to let you know.
Yeah, that reminds me of even, forgive me, were you complete?
I'm done.
Sorry. No, that reminds me of like when they say, you know, when people throw the bricks at you, you build something with it. You build a home with it. You know what I mean? I've done that a lot. I mean, I've had a lot of comments come at me that weren't the best. I've been judged a lot. Even in this last season, I mean, I felt like it was an onslaught. I was like, whoa, okay, you know. But they don't even know that sometimes I'll read a comment and I'll be like, where's the gain? Where's the good? Like, oh, I could tighten up right there. Oh, I could do this. They don't even know they're helping me. You know, they say the haters, they don't even know they're helping me sometimes with the comments that they throw my way. So I feel you.
Confused admirers is what you call them.
Yes, that's from my mentor, Marvin McIntyre. He's like,
I love that, by the way.
I did too. I did, made me smile. I was like, that's funny. Haters being confused admirers.
You talked about, you stated in there, work in the entertainment business can be inconsistent. And I wanted to talk about the stress level during that time when you're not working or in between jobs. How did you deal with that, and how were you able to navigate through all of that? Because people don't talk about that part, you know. We always think y'all working every day, all day, you making it big, you always, you know, got a gig. So
you know, it's interesting because I've been in the business so long, I've dealt with it differently at different stages, right? So I thank God that I got bitten by the entertainment bug when I was a young girl, because that's all I could see. So I just believed and I went after it. Right. So, and then I had the support of my parents. Right. So, I wasn't thinking about that. But once I started adulting with it out there in Hollywood, it's a different playing field. And I guess like even my mom, she's huge on education. So she's like, one bargain with me was when I was 10 years old and we were in the car and she's like, you know, what's your plan A? I mean, what did she say? What do you want to do when you grow up? I want to be a singer like Whitney Houston. She's like, that's nice. That's cute. Like, what's your plan B? And I'm like, I don't have a plan B. That's it. So she knew I was super, super serious. But she said, if nothing happens for you before you leave high school, you have to go to college. I was like, all right, deal. But I ended up taking off and doing my thing. But when I did have a lull in my early 20s and I wasn't quite sure if when I was going to get my first gig, I decided to go to LA Valley College. Okay. And I started taking some classes, but I was so about it that I didn't stay there long. I got my gigs and kept going. But then there were times where it would be like months and nothing, I don't know what's coming. It's really um it can be stressful, but I think that the passion for it just keeps you going. Um, Knowing that it can happen. I used to visualize all the time. I lived in my imagination. So I think when you feel it, you see it, when you embody the fact that it can happen, it's like something's gonna give. Something's gonna happen. So that always kept me moving. But that time that I thought I was leaving the business, um, and I got a phone call, saying that the original members of the group wanted to come back together again. Of course, I supported them because I want the best for them, but I wasn't prepared for that. I hadn't been saving for that. And at that time, you always thought the money would somehow keep flowing, but we all got smacked upside the head with like reality check. And so fast forward 8 months, I was looking at a very stark reality. And that was that I was going to have to get my first regular job in my early 30s. And there's no disrespect to anybody that has a regular job. It just wasn't my life, right? But I got lucky going to a buddy of mine because I decided to pivot in a direction that at least I was interested in, which was alternative health. And I swear I was in a winter. I don't know if you guys are familiar with, kind of equating the space that you're in your life to a season. Are you? Do you know about that? If you haven't listened to another gentleman, write this down. Jim Rohn. If you're not familiar with Jim Rohn's work, and Rohn is spelled Rohn. Fantastic mentor that's already passed on. When I was in my winter, I used to study for like no less than 2 hours daily. I pretty much pulled myself into my own personal university. And that's when I was like in the gym within myself. My self development was on tilt. I did not waste my winter. So winter is a time where, in the northern parts of the world, of course, you can't turn over the ground. It's cold. It's hard. It's not a time for planting seeds. It's a time to hibernate like the bears, right? So that's a time, if you were to equate it to a human experience, self-reflection, self-inventory. What choices have I made that have me looking at the results I'm looking at? And get real honest with yourself. And that's one thing I did. I got super honest with myself. And so I threw my whole self at changing my perspective, stretching my perspective about what else the situation could mean to me. And then what new choices could I make to give me some different results? So even while I was working at his company, and I tell you, I worked in every part of it. Probably I was in customer service, I was in product creation, I was in shipping. I had the nerve to become manager of shipping like a crazy person. I was taking work home. I was overwhelmed. And then I still didn't drop the ball on my dreams on the side. We call it moonlighting. Right. So even though I would work maybe sometimes 10 hours, and because I was manager at one point, I would take the paperwork home and do that. And then I picked up a side hustle with him, honey. I was like, you need some commercials? All right, I'll make you some stuff. I was doing videos for his products. And I even started writing my first book during that time because he encouraged me. He said, Rhona, a book is 2 pages. I was like, I can do that. And so I wrote my first 20-page book. It was like a little ebook, but I made it physical and it was called Got Motivation, And so I spoke from the space I was in. I hope that encourages somebody to start writing and to take even the smallest step can give you greater rewards later. But that was my winter. I threw my whole self at it. And whenever I want to change something in my life, I'll throw my whole self at it. I was even at seminars, like if you have abundance issues or money flow issues. I went to something that I don't think it exists now. It used to. They would go around to different major cities in the country. It was called Millionaire Mind Intensive by a company called Peak Potentials. Maybe they have some new product now. But I went there and they were like, all right, first, we got to get to the root of the financial, where your lack is coming from within yourself. Now let's rework that. And then I want you to go do this for 90 days. honey, I did it for 90. I probably did it more than 90 days, but I absolutely executed because I was like, throw your whole self at it, Ro. And that's what pushed me through. But it's the passion. It's not dropping the balls on your dream and being willing to pivot until you get it right.
It was so interesting you talked about that because I was telling them during your money management section in the book, we just did a segment on financial literacy for Financial
Mhm.
Literacy Month because I brought in someone that I know because I'm also a financial educator and I brought someone that's a mentor for me over and she
That's
came in and I had another guy come in too. So we've definitely been incorporating that into our discussions.
good.
So yeah, definitely. Chapter 1, you stated that there about staying focused, right? And how they say your mentor, Lisa Nichols, is she the one that told
Mhm.
you to stay focused? Is that her?
No, Lisa just
No,
came
recently.
last year. Yeah.
Okay,
Mhm.
okay. So I want to talk about the mentor that told you to stay focused and to tell the people how important it is to stay focused in your career.
I'm not sure of who the mentor was. I've had a lot of mentors in my life. Even my
Okay,
mom
okay,
was my first coach, as far as I'm
okay.
concerned. Okay. But I've studied enough champions at this point that have succeeded in different sectors of life. And I just follow, as my husband calls it, the tea leaves. Like, what is it? What are most of them doing? What are the common denominators? And staying focused is absolutely one of them. I mean, I've even learned to single task, as they say, where you focus until one thing gets done, or you give it a certain amount of time until you get it done. That's at least what your goal is for the day, and then you move to the next thing in order to close the gap on achievement with something. So staying focused has helped me to produce way more than shooting in different directions or not staying focused.
Okay. Anybody else that have any questions? Jasmine,
Hey,
Rachel, I know you all
Jasmine
share
and
that.
Rachel.
They kind of quiet. Y'all have,
Hello. I don't
Hey
have any
there.
questions right now.
okay. Rachel, you have anything?
Rachel said, I'm just chilling.
Yeah, she just here. Right, so let me keep going. You
Mhm,
talked about the industry shift and how it shifts all the time due to the different developments in technology. I thought that
mhm.
was so important. So can we talk about that?
Sure. I think the entertainment industry is one of the most vulnerable to technological shifts. That's another reason why a lot of my counterparts didn't make it because we had to adapt or die, if you will. Um, when Napster came out and they started pirating music. And so here's somebody giving it away for free. And we just lost all that money. I mean, the bootlegging industry, when they were just giving the movies away for free, lost a lot of money. And then here we are now in streaming, where it's like not even a penny per stream. Like, what in the world? So talk about passion being your driver. I mean, there's other ways you can creatively make money. I mean, we make our money from merchandise, from touring, publishing if you're a writer, shows and collaborating with other people. But as far as making money off of your music, that has been quite a challenge because of technology. They've shifted things and you know the way that we've been able to track our music, or like I said, getting one penny per stream, it's just not adding up.
We discussed about how you kept quoting throughout the book, belief is a hell of a drug. So we talked
Yes.
about that and how your grandmother was the one that saw something in you
Hmm.
when you were younger and when Whitney Houston came to your job, so can you tell the people about that?
Yeah, I was working on the Jamie Foxx show at the time, and we were having our little jingle battles and stuff like that, and it was gaining a lot of traction and getting some really good feedback from people. And little did I know, we know that Whitney was one of those people, I guess, that was watching the show. And so one day, one of the producers came up to me and they're like, Whitney's coming to meet you today. And I was like, yeah, right. Like, no way, like, no. And so I kind of dismissed it. I thought he was being playful. And then we went to lunch And when I came back, they used to have this table outside of the sound stage that showed you the guests that were coming, and it was written on the page, Whitney plus 8. And I was like shocked, right? And so I have a chill right now. And so I went to my dressing room upstairs in the soundstage, and then coming down the hallway, there's Whitney and Bobby coming to meet me and sharing how she enjoyed the show and was, sharing her accolades for my performance. And that blew my mind because that was my childhood music hero.
Yes, that is an amazing story
Yeah.
that you get to live with. That's your
Yeah.
own little special story. And wow, that will
And I
forever live in your heart.
Yes, and you know what? I want to add to that because at the time we didn't have all these cameras and stuff, right? We just still had the flip phones, okay? So I remember Jamie used to do karaoke. I want to say it was called Miyagi's at the time because it was a very popular spot on Sunset Boulevard, but it kept changing names, changing ownership. But I think at this time it was Miyagi's, and so he would have karaoke night there. And I think this was the same day that Method Man and Redman may have been guests on the show. And so everybody went to Miyagi's that night, including Whitney and Bobby and their entourage. And Bobby sang, I want to say, Don't Be Cruel for karaoke. And Whitney got up and sang, I Will Always Love You. And when I tell you, those flip phones were just because you could only call one person, right? So everybody had somebody that they called, and it was the phones in the air capturing the sound coming back. And I will never forget that. It was a
Wow.
very special night.
Yes. Unbelievable. Um, your first big break with Oprah Winfrey.
Yeah. Yeah.
How did that make you feel? Walk us through the journey, okay? Because that is major.
Yeah. It still amazes me. I did the audition for her niece. It was supposed to be the niece character, and there was another young lady. Are any of you from Chicago at all? Okay. So, Tanisha, you are? Okay, I
Yes.
think I know that. I think I know that. So it Deleon Richards, she was a young gospel singer, and Deleon and I were up for the same part. And we went all the way to the what they call the screen test. And I remember that day. It was another. I wish I knew this gentleman's name. He's an actor that if we saw him, we would all say, "Oh yeah, I know him." But I remember he was in the scene. I don't even want to go into that. It's just a crazy scene, and it totally put me as a deer in headlights. And I'm not sure if that affected my ability to land on the role. So after the whole thing went down, we were waiting for the phone calls. We still had the answer machines back then, right? And so we found out that I did not get the part. But a few days later, and this is where I know the talk about law of attraction, Yolanda, and holding a vision and belief being a hell of a drug. God can create spaces that we don't even know can exist. You just got to believe. You just got to trust that something can happen. And so I know that I wanted it a lot, and I know she wanted it a lot, right? So she ended up getting the niece character, and they created a best friend for her. And that was my role.
Talk about opening doors, okay? When one door closed, another one open. Hello.
Keep believing, man. Yeah.
Wow, thank God for the best friend, okay?
Very grateful, like incredibly grateful.
Yes. And so in chapter 8, the money management topic, you talked
Mhm.
about having a living will and a trust.
Yes.
Why is that so important?
My mama, I got to shout out Sandra Bennett. She's just so, like, my mom is so gangster with organization. I remember, and I just want to tell this quick story about her because she's just so special to me in this way, in every way, but in this way in particular for this time. My dad, unfortunately, was diagnosed with mesothelioma, lung cancer, years ago. And you know how they used to have those commercials that would come out and they would have the trust fund for people that would eventually, because it's a disease that can happen years later, decades later, after the first encounter with whatever caused the disease. And so here's my dad. He worked for a company in 1970, and they were working around asbestos. And you know how they say asbestos could cause cancer, but nothing had happened prior to that. And now we're starting to think his best friend that ended up dying from stomach cancer, maybe in 86, that could have been the cause, but nobody knew to look in that way. But fast forward, here's my dad at in 2014, 2013, and he gets diagnosed with this. And they're like, was he ever working in this kind of condition? Da 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 da. And so my mom says yes in 1970. And they're like, well, we need proof. Well, guess who can go down into her vault and has everybody's W-2, including mine, my sister, my dad. My mom had it. So, just to give you some background on the warrior I have behind me, she just knows how important it is, because she says, wills are okay, but she's like, you can get caught up in probate, which means it can be in court and it can go on for years. She's like, if you put it in a trust, then that's your estate. You put your assets in your estate, and that way you have already given them deliverables for how that stuff is supposed to go out. No court gets involved. It just is handled. And so my mom was the one that helped me to understand the importance of that.
Yeah, I think it's good to have a mother or some type of parental guidance when you're in the industry. Do you agree?
Yeah, or at least a really special guardian, someone who just has your best interests at heart. And when that's the case, you can trust your intuition a lot for what moves to make, even if you don't know exactly what to do.
Yeah, some type of guidance, mentor, something along the way. Yeah. Um, Also, in chapter 9, you stated, I wanted to know what was your life like after the pandemic and how did things change for you and in your career?
Oh gosh. Well, a lot changed after the pandemic. One, I didn't know what was happening with our industry. A lot of work slowed down. Some just came to a full on halt because, I mean, we were doing shows, live shows, and nobody was coming out because we were mandated to be at home. So I had a lot of time to think. Um, Even at that time, I was going through a heartbreak, one of the worst. Okay, and I had to sit with myself. But it was one of the best times. I ate amazing. I had my mind right, But also at that same time, I had been in my same condo for 24 years, and those walls just started closing in on me. That's the way it felt. I was like, oh my God, I got to get out of here. And so for years, a few years prior, I was like, oh, I can just bounce out here and there to kind of give myself a change of scenery. Like I would go stay in New York. I stayed there for 1 month just to kind of change things up. And then I could go home and feel like I did something. I went to Atlanta, did the same thing. But during that time, when work slowed down and I was reevaluating how I wanted to move or what we thought was even happening with our industry, I was like, I want to move. Am I going to leave a pinky toe back here? I don't think so. I think I'm out. And I went to Atlanta, fell in love with this community, and I was like, you know what? Peace. A lot of people thought I was crazy because they're like, you're gonna walk away from, your property, da da da. I was like, yeah, I gotta do something. God's gonna have to do something else with me and give me back whatever I thought I lost, because I need a new beginning. I need to scramble the pattern on myself. And ever since then, um, my quality of life has shifted. Um, I have a home now. I got married to, my and my husband was sitting under my nose. He's my friend from high school, and I never would have thought. Never would have thought. But by shaking things up, shaking the energy up, my circumstances, my results got shaken up as well. So much has shifted since then. And the business has picked up, of course, but we've also now integrated online. That wasn't a thing like that, but now we're able to do so much with technology.
Wow. Well,
Mhm.
congratulations
Thank you.
on your marriage. So you say you are the founder of a life coach school called Personal Power University. Tell us more about that.
That's my baby. I started coaching in 2010. I know what I was doing. I just knew I wanted to help people. Uh, and I didn't even have the money at the time. This was when I was going through my financial skid mark, honey. I didn't even have the money to invest in getting certified and all of that. So this is when I put myself in my self study, uh, and I just went hard in the paint, created my own stuff, and picked up single clients here and there. And then I ran into this young, ambitious business coach, and he was like, "Girl, what do you want to do?" You know, and I was like, "I don't know. I just want all the principles and philosophies that I know have helped me to be successful in one place." And I had just gotten complete with doing a blog workbook because a buddy of mine said, "Ro, why don't you need to do something with your blogs, you know?" And I was like, "All right." So I did a blog workbook, but little did I know, uh, after he made this suggestion, he said, "Well, what do you want to do?" I said, "Put them all in one place." He says, "Why don't you start a school?" I'm like, "School?" Whoa. I don't know about no school. Okay. It sounded so big and daunting. And he's like, "No, he was like, he chunked it down. He's like, no, 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 no. Just what do you want them to know? Put the skeleton together. Don't worry about putting meat on the bones yet. Just break down what you feel is the most important thing for people to know, to have from you." And I was like, "Cool, I can do that." And then once I did that, I realized my blog workbook was the start of my school. I just plugged my workbook right into my school, and that started it. And I've since evolved, you know, what I teach and how I teach and all of that. But that's what got me started.
So is it young girls? Is it teenagers? Is it adults, all ages? Is it
It really is. I would say I do teach adults. I would say I mean, I could teach anyone, but from 21 and up. I've had a student probably as young as 20 and a student as mature as 70. You know, it's for people at any stage of their career in life. I have really evolved from just calling myself a life coach as a personal power coach because I know that like nobody's business, right? So, um, and now I've even pivoted into being a creative coach. I wasn't even doing that. I was keeping them separate. People are like, "Why aren't you coaching creatives?" So now that's a hyper focus on creatives. But yeah, I teach everybody, and I work best with people who either have their backs against the wall and they gotta see change, they're ready for change, they gotta see it, it's time, or super high achievers and they're looking for more. But I can help pretty much everybody.
do you have classes online? How do they go about, like, if people want to join? Do you have to be in that state wherever you are?
No, see the beauty of technology. See, your girl adapted, okay? So, so I teach via Zoom, and so I have students from different parts of the world that are able to drop in. I teach group coaching sessions, and I just opened up one-on-one coaching sessions last year because at one point it was a little overwhelming, but now I do both.
Your book says to ask ro@gmail.com. Does that
Yeah,
still work?
askro@gmail.com.
Okay. All right.
That's right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anybody else have any questions?
I do have a question because you say you teach people who's back up against the wall, and then also your book says being coachable is a superpower. So
Yes.
the people with I don't know, I would say the people who have their backs against the wall is coachable. But then you have some of them aren't because they come out fighting. Like, if you corner an animal, they go fight and claw and don't want to listen to you. But
Yes.
also the egos, how do you bring them down where they don't have that superpower?
Say that last question again.
I said in your book, you said being coachable is a superpower.
Right.
I said, well, how do you bring the people down or to where they can obtain that superpower?
Oh, you use the word ego.
Well, I said, because you said two things. There are
Yeah.
two people that you work with, Beth, is the people who have their back against the wall.
Yes,
and
ma'am.
the people who have, their ego is way up there and it's super high.
Well, high achiever.
High
I would say
achiever.
a high achiever.
Okay, high achiever. Okay.
Yes. Now, but speaking of ego, these are things that I do talk about in the course. I mean, it's major to one, understand what the ego actually is, and then two, how to receive feedback, how to suspend judgment, how to move in such a way. And these are some of the intangibles that I was talking about earlier that sustain success. All of that is a part of it, wrangling in the ego in that way. But there's a way to do it where you're still your authentic self. You're still able to access all these, vulnerability, all these nuanced emotions and characteristics, and coming to understand who you are better, more, and be empowered in that. That is something that I specialize in because, like I said, I like to peel back the human condition and look in. I'm the person that's looking in. I'm not running away. I will go and sit with someone in their basement. If we were to think about us like a house and the mind is the attic, shadow stuff is with you in the basement. Let's unpack.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Let's start at ground zero.
Let's do it.
Yeah, yeah. You told me that you have a second edition coming soon for your book. When will that be available for purchase? And can you let the people know where they can purchase your book?
Yes. So I am possibly I'm looking at possibly collaborating for it. So I don't know what the release date will be, but of course I'll be sure to let you know. And in the meantime, I would say you can pick it up from Amazon or Audible. I did I did the voiceover for it for people who may want to turn their cars into a mobile university, or you just don't feel like you got time, or maybe you're a slow reader, you can listen.
Yeah, I think that's great because I still want my hard copy. Okay. So when that come available, I
I
want
will
me a
take
hard
care of
copy.
it. You
I didn't
got
have
it.
no book to
You
hold up
got it.
today, so we had to hold up because that's how we normally start. We'll hold the book up so people can at least see the actual book. So we had to hold up the ebook.
Yes.
Thank you, Yolanda, for doing that for me.
Thank you,
But
Yolanda.
yeah. Yeah, this has definitely been a great discussion. It went on kind of long, but we so happy
Yeah.
that you came on because I'm like, this is her one time she got to come so we can answer our questions and see her face to face. It's been so long, especially since I've seen you. The other girls, they were anticipating seeing you as well, but we kept the discussion
Yeah, I'm
going and
sorry
going
I
and
missed
going.
them.
Oh, it's no problem. You, honey, you came. I know you busy. You live a busy life, but you took time out, and we are always appreciative for
Very much.
whenever authors come on and share their story. We definitely, take that to heart. So if you happen to write another book later on, we'll definitely have you back on with us. But that will definitely end
That's
the
enough.
yeah, that will end our discussion for today. Did you want anything else that you want to share or give your social media information to the people out there? You can do that too.
Sure. You can absolutely find me at ronabennett.com. My name spelled out.com. You can also find me at official Miss MISSR, the letter N and B, official Miss R&B on Instagram. And I think I'm Miss R&B on Facebook. And then my regular Facebook page is Rhona Bennett 7, and I'm pretty active on there as well. But yeah, and I don't know how soon this is coming out, but we have a conference coming up. It's the Produce Your Dream Life event. Lisa Nichols is our keynote speaker, and I will be hosting one of the days as well as a speaker as well. It's going to be amazing. I'm surrounded by powerhouse women, and if you can make it, it'll be in Atlanta, Georgia on November 7th and 8th. Highly recommend that you make it.
Okay, where do we go to get tickets or how?
ProduceYourDreamLife.com. Would love to see you in a place. And if you guys come, and if anybody's listening to this and you come, be sure to reach out to Tanisha so I can make sure that I come and hug your neck.
Yes, yes. All right, that will end our discussion for today. Thank you again, Rona. Get back to cooking, get back to being around your husband because I know you've been gone. And I wish you much success in your career. And I love you. And it was good
Love you
seeing you
guys.
again. And until next time, see
Until
you,
next time,
girl.
that's what I say. All right, y'all. Peace.
Bye-bye.